To Rockipedia. Tonight's featured artist, Twisted Sister. It all started when founding member in the early 70s, J.J. French, known as John Siegel at that time, had a band called Silver Star. He hated the band name. It didn't take until his second singer that came into the band at the name of Michael O'Neill, who came up with the band name Twisted Sister. The band would play like crazy for the next 3 years, playing 6 nights a week. The band went through 4 versions of the band by this time. Being in that 4th version, guitarist Eddie Ojeda. It didn't take until the 6th version of the band in 1976 entered Dee Snider on lead vocals. The band broke attendance records in large halls in the tri-state area of New York, which got them a record deal with Secret Records, a small label. More lineup changes went through until they finally solidified the lineup by bringing in A.J. Pero and Mark Mendoza on drums and bass. Being on a small record label, the band set out for a major record deal, sending their demos out to all the major record labels, being turned down at least twice by all of them. In June 1982, they released Under the Blade. Produced by Pete Way of UFO, the album was an underground hit in the UK. It gave them enough recognition to get to be an opener for heavy metal band Motorhead. The album had a raw metal sound with good rockin' tracks like the title track Under the Blade and Shoot 'Em Down and Tear It Loose. The rest of the album is a bore. A very slow-paced, non-catchy music on this album, a snoozer in my opinion. I give it a 1 out of 5 stars, only because it had 3 decent songs on it that saved it from being a total flop. It took an appearance on a music television show called The Tube to get a record label attention. Atlantic Records saw Twisted Sister on The Tube, and they offered the band a record deal. In 1983, brought us their first record release on a major label called You Can't Stop Rock and Roll.
Stop rock and roll. You can't stop rock and roll. You can't stop rock and roll.
First LP on Atlantic Records, the album brought a hit single, I Am Me, going number 19 on the UK charts. It brought the band's first music video out with the title track, You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. The album production was definitely better than that mess that they put out previously. Finally, Dee's other testicle fell, and his strong, aggressive rock voice appears on this album. Better guitar riffs and catchier songs, it showed the band could be a true hard rock band. It definitely got the band's name out there. Except for a few fillers, it's a good album. I give it a 3 out of 5 stars. On May 10th, 1984, was the release of the band's 3rd album, Stay Hungry. International fame came for them after the release of this album. This will become the band's top-selling album, selling 2 million copies by the summer of 1985, then sold 3 million more in years to come. With 2 hit singles, I Wanna Rock, number 68, and We're Not Going to Take It at number 21 on the U.S. charts. Both singles were played continuously on MTV. even featuring a fictional video for Burning Hell in the movie Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Their videos' comical nature were called violent by parents and also by the PMRC, and brought attention to the PMRC in 1985. On September 19th, 1985, Dee sat before a Senate committee to testify and defend their music. Dee, from this point on, became a big voice and advocate for standing up for hard rock and heavy metal music. Stay Hungry is the band's most successful album to date. It proves why, with the hit singles aside, the rest of the album stays solid. An album you can definitely listen to from beginning to finish. I give this album a 5 out of 5 stars. After opening for big acts like Iron Maiden and breaking off into their own headlining shows, the band was ready to start out on their first real headlining tour. On November 9th, 1985, brought us their fourth studio album, Come Out and Play.
Now won't you come out and play? Come out and play. Come on out and play. Come out and play. Come on out and play. Come out and play.
Trying to top or come close to a release of an album like Stay Hungry is a big task. Going from selling millions of records to only selling 500,000 copies, the band failed on their effort. The band blaming MTV for not playing their video Be Cruel to Your School on the grounds that it was graphically offensive. It took a huge turnaround from successful to being nobodies overnight. The tour, which I saw, which was a great show, was cut short due to cancellations of show dates. The band quickly was left in the dust, which was a real shame because I happen to really like this album. Cool tracks like the title track, Come Out and Play. Also tracks You Want What We Got, The Fire Still Burns, and a very well-written ballad called I Believe in You. I felt this album delivered. Besides a few corny cover tracks like Be Cruel to Your School and Leader of the Pack, this was a great rock album. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. The band disbanded after the short tour. Dee Snider tried and failed on starting a solo career. The band reunited to put out another album in 1987. October 12th, 1987 brought us their fifth studio album called Love is for Suckers.
It's for suckers. Love is for suckers. Love is for suckers.
The band tried to change their image by taking off the makeup and putting out a more good musically sounded album to take them seriously as a hard rock band. Even though I felt they pulled it off by the best album they ever did musically as musicians, the critics and fans didn't agree. 2 months after the release, Dee Snider, I guess, could not take the rejection. He left the band and the record label dropped the band. A public announcement came in early January of 1988 that Twisted Sister was no more. As quick as this band became successful, they were gone by the snap of a finger. The band never did make a true comeback. They did reunite to play some big shows, including the 2001 benefit concert for all the families who lost their loved ones in 9/11 attacks. The Sweden Music Festival in 2003, in 2005 for the Klondike Days Festival in Emmington, in Canada, sorry about that, and in 2007 at Rocklahoma. In 2014, they played to 20,000 fans for their Stay Hungry 30th anniversary show in Denmark. And in 2015, the band announced a farewell tour. Unfortunately, longtime drummer A.J. Perro died of a heart attack during this tour. Mike Portnoy finished the final shows with them. The band played its final show on November 12th, 2016 in Monterey. Their legacy lives on by hearing the classics at sporting events and other events going on around the world. Short but sweet, I feel Twisted Sister left a mark in 80s metal. That will do it for our Rockipedia for tonight. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.